The headline is a letter from Racing Louisville FC president James O'Connor, and it's as follows. It was released today, October 5th, 2022 at 3:45 p.m. The U.S. Soccer released Sally Yates' report, which was published earlier this week, served as a harsh reminder that appointing Christy Holly as Racing Louisville FC's first coach was a mistake. We have learned from that mistake, and we apologize to Aaron Simon, to our players, past and present, and to our fans. We commend Aaron for her bravery in coming forward as part of U.S. Soccer's investigation. And while our former coach was terminated within 24 hours of us being alerted to the behavior, we know that wasn't enough and that we failed our locker room by creating a space where this behavior could occur. We have worked hard every day since then to ensure a safe environment that puts players in a position to succeed. This includes implementation of club-wide anonymous reporting services and a reevaluated hiring process for staff. We will cooperate with the ongoing NWSL/NWSLPA joint investigation and welcome recommendations to improve our organization for the betterment of players. The joint investigative team may be contacted at NWSL_investigation@cov.com, or you may reach out to the NWSL or NWSLPA directly or through any other club and league reporting channels. We are not the same club that we were in August of 2021. We now owe it to our players and community to prove it. Again, that's from James O'Connor, the president of Racing Louisville FC. And I would just like to give you all the opportunity to respond to that statement.
I think something that is like upsetting or should like be brought into the light is what was the criteria for hiring Christy Holly? Because I personally did not know after reading like the reports that were published that he didn't have a coaching license. So it's like, how was he hired? He didn't have a coaching license, so that's like obviously red flag number one. Shouldn't be coaching a professional women's soccer team with like probably the bare minimum. So I feel like that's like an answer or a question that should be answered. Like how was he hired and how has the criteria changed since then?
And I think also another thing along with that I think was left out of that is a major problem that a lot of us had last year was there was so many people, like genuinely so many people that went up to the higher up and spoke and addressed their concerns, and they did absolutely nothing. And they said, oh, we'll look into it. Oh, are you sure that happened? Oh, well, what was the context? And I mean, I'm not saying like one person and two people, three people. I'm talking maybe like 8 to 10 people over a long period of time. So you're telling us that you've changed and you're listening and you're going to address these issues when players come to you and you hope they feel safe coming to you. But like, how do you expect your players to feel safe coming to you about these problems when you did absolutely nothing? When honestly, it was probably one of the worst case scenarios.
I think personally, I think nothing, we could like still be sitting here with nothing being addressed if it didn't get to the worst case scenario, which was sexual assault. Like we could still be sitting here and being told that like we're weak or like it's just criticism or it's yelling. It had to escalate to like the worst possible thing for us to be sitting here and talking about it and recognizing that everything that's happened and what the club did was wrong.
What Erin did and how she stood up and has come through and said everything that's happened to her is incredible. But like Taylor and Emina just pointed out, like that was the breaking point. That was August. We went in early and spoke to James, spoke to HR about all the small things that were happening, and not small things, but things that accumulated over time that were smaller in comparison to the sexual abuse that was going on with Erin. And so for them, like obviously like the sexual abuse is what is being brought up right now because it is the most prevalent. It is the biggest part of it. But all of these small things are getting pushed aside and they're not being recognized because when we would go in, it would be, where are the facts? Or like, can you tell me exactly how this happened? Or this is told differently by Christy or by another staff member. So that was some of the issues that we faced when we would go in last year.
And what still irritates me is that James and Racing will not say that Aaron was sexually abused and that Christy Holly was a predator. When we went into that meeting that night knowing about Christy getting fired, we were told that it was because of an inappropriate relationship. I'm sorry, but that's not a relationship. He sexually abused her and he preyed on her and did what he did. That needs to be addressed. And if they're saying they commend Aaron, they need to personally apologize to her, because in my personal opinion, when they came out in 2021 with that statement that was so absolutely vague, and I think Brooke touched on this as well, we didn't need to say Aaron's name. You could have very well still brought up the fact that a player in the organization was sexually abused by Christy Holly and no further questions. They just left it for cause. So fans, other teams, players, coaches, everyone just had a rumor about how Christy got fired because we weren't allowed to speak up about it to obviously protect Aaron, but they could have gone so many other routes other than simply saying for cause. And I think that's what's most frustrating for me, because we were a first-year expansion club and they didn't want to have the club's first year having a scandal as extreme as this. And again, that's just my personal opinion. And for James to come out and say we weren't the same team, we're not the same as 2021, but yet I still just see kind of the same patterns, if that makes sense. And now it just simply needs to come down to actions moving forward, and that's like across the league as a whole.